Hi, it's Gabrielle, and in this video, part 2 of The Emotionally Unavailable Man, we're going to get back into relationship advice for women about the emotionally unavailable man. We've talked about how emotional unavailability gets started in early childhood, and now we're going to talk about what to do about it and why you continue to attract emotionally unavailable men. For over 12 years, I've been a licensed professional counselor and relationship expert in private practice in Boulder, Colorado. And my practice is grounded in the science of what makes relationships work. I'm going to give you some important marriage tips about how to connect with an emotionally unavailable man and how to avoid getting into relationships with emotionally unavailable men if that's not something you want to do. If you like the relationship tips and marriage advice that you're learning here, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel right now. Just click on the subscribe button right here. If you like this video, please give it a like and share it. And go to thepowercoupleformula.com for lots more information about how to build an amazing relationship. And visit powercoupleseducation.com to stay connected. This is the second video in our two-part series on the emotionally unavailable man. In the first video, we talked about what emotional unavailability is and how it gets started. We also talked about a strategy that you can use to decide if your relationship with an emotionally unavailable man has the possibility of working out or not. In this video, we're going to talk about why you continue to attract emotionally unavailable men, and we're also going to talk about what you can do in your relationship with an emotionally unavailable man so that you can make it work. I hear this from a lot of women. Why do I continue to be attracted to emotionally unavailable men? I love contact. I'm a person who loves being in relationships. I'm a big hugger. I'm super expressive. I love talking about my thoughts and feelings and hearing about the thoughts and feelings of others. So why do I keep attracting people who seem to not have the same interests and not even be capable of doing the same things? You might not really be able to tell very easily when you first get into a relationship with someone how emotionally available they really are. Because in the beginning of a relationship, everything is fresh and new and exciting, and our typical patterns of relating haven't actually settled in yet with this new person. We just don't know them well enough yet. So in the beginning, people who are emotionally unavailable can relate in ways that are actually very warm, very engaging. They can seem very interested in you, like they're good listeners, and even good at sharing. And that's because in the beginning of a relationship, we can do things that are often much more difficult for us to do at later stages of the relationship, once the relationship deepens. Emotionally unavailable men can come across as very powerful and strong and confident, have a lot of magnetism and allure in the beginning of a relationship, which can make women feel very attracted to them. You know that there are these two insecure styles of relating that I've talked about a lot in earlier videos: the avoidant style and the ambivalent style. Emotional unavailability is primarily associated with one of the styles that I mentioned, and that's avoidant attachment. Women who are attracted to emotionally unavailable and avoidant men usually have what we call an ambivalent attachment style, which means that they experienced very inconsistent caregiving early in life, a parent who is sometimes there for them and sometimes not. And this kind of inconsistent parenting created a lot of insecurity in them. Like they're never really sure if somebody's there for them or not, and this can make them feel very anxious. So when it comes to ambivalent attachment, people with this style are used to kind of a roller coaster of emotions, where sometimes they feel very close to a parent and sometimes they feel like the rug is being pulled out from under them and they suddenly feel abandoned and alone. So the reason that ambivalents tend to be very attracted to avoidants who are often emotionally unavailable is because their experience in that type of relationship is one of being on that emotional roller coaster. And it's what ambivalently attached people are most accustomed to. It's very easy for an ambivalently attached person to get drawn into a relationship where sometimes they feel like they're the center of attention of their partner, and other times they don't hear from their partner for days. Remember that we pick our partner based on familiarity, meaning based on what our brain recognizes from our early experiences with our caregivers when we were very little. You might find that you get very confusing messages from your partner, like they don't call for a long time, or they drop hints that they're still dating other people. At other times, they're affectionate and sweet with you, so you really don't know what to expect. And it's that kind of unpredictability that continues that experience of the emotional roller coaster. When your partner won't commit, won't say I love you, and prefers to keep your relationship status kind of foggy, all of these things keep you focused on being afraid that the relationship is going to end. And that prevents you from really being clear with what it is that you need in order to be happy. All of those behaviors make you afraid that the relationship is going to end. So all of your energy goes into doing whatever it is that you think you need to do in order to keep your partner's attention. And that prevents you from settling and moving into deeper stages of commitment. So for instance, maybe you notice that your partner really doesn't want to stay in contact in between dates. And so you just go along with that because you don't want to bother them. Or maybe you're afraid that you're going to come across as too needy or too demanding. And so you act less interested than you really are because they're kind of giving you the message that they're sort of on the fence about whether they really want the relationship or not. So you find yourself essentially playing by their rules, because deep down, you're afraid that if you assert what you want in the relationship, that it's just going to drive them away. After all, they're already pretty emotionally unavailable. You might be thinking that if you can just lay off and not be too much for them, they're going to come around. They're going to realize that you really do care for them and they're going to want to be with you. But I have news for you. Relationships just don't work that way. If you teach your partner right from the beginning that the relationship should be based on what they feel comfortable with, you're never going to get the kind of relationship that you really want. Ambivalently attached children learn very early that they have to take care of the feelings of at least one parent or primary caregiver. And that's what accounts for this tendency that you may have to hang on every word of your partner or want to meet every need, because fundamentally, as a child, in order to maintain a relationship with a parent, you had to be very good at taking care of what the parent wanted from you. You might not realize this, but you're mixing up the experience of being in love with having this kind of anxious attachment where you don't know if you're going to be close to the person or feel totally cut off. After all, being in love and being anxiously attached are kind of similar feelings in a certain way. In the beginning of a relationship, you are pining for the person, you can't wait for the next time you're going to see them, you want to please them and come off as a, attractive partner to them. But this is different. This is not being in love. If you're feeling insecure, preoccupied, and worried about this person, and you only occasionally feel joyful with them, only occasionally feel like you're experiencing a sense of affection and warmth and connection, this is not the stuff of a long-term relationship. It's a sign that your attachment system is overactivated and you're reliving that same kind of anxiety over the fear of loss of connection that you experienced when you were a child. This could be a very difficult realization for you to have, and you might not have heard what I'm talking about before, but I'm trying to give you some straight up relationship advice here. That if this sounds like you, it's time to realize that being in a secure relationship feels nothing like this. Secure relationships feel much calmer and devoid of this kind of anxiety around, does he want me? Does he not want me? Am I too much for him? Am I overwhelming him? All of those questions fall by the wayside when you're with someone who understands you and is willing to move toward you to help you feel safe and secure with them. Emotional availability, as we talked about in part 1, means that both partners respond to each other with sensitivity and they understand what it is that helps the other person feel safe and relaxed, and they do those things for each other every day. Ambivalently attached people often don't recognize when they're with a secure partner because the relationship feels kind of boring to them. Why? Because they're used to this sort of push-pull and this up and down. Sometimes, we're together and then we have passionate arguments and great sex, and then we drop each other and we break up and we get back together again. You're so used to associating love with this kind of radical emotionality and instability that when you actually connect with a secure partner, it kind of feels boring. But understand that being in that sort of roller coaster of emotion over time is completely untenable because it activates your stress response system. It is going to burn you out on an immune level, on an endocrine level. You're not going to be able to sustain that kind of intensity and distress. As you mature and you start to think about your long-term direction, your career, and your family, you have to realize that you need a certain level of stability and reliability that you can, and trustworthiness that you can build the rest of your life on. And that means that you shouldn't have to worry, even for 1 second of one day, about whether you and your partner are going to stay together or not. Just think of all of the resources you would save if you didn't have to worry about that anymore. You could be devoting all of that energy to so many worthwhile pursuits and realizing your full potential. The emotionally available man is someone who is curious and interested in you, who pays attention to what's happening with you, who follows up on things that you've talked to them about and notices when you're in distress and actually does something to help you feel better. Those types of behaviors are actually visible in a relationship right from the very beginning. When you start to feel that kind of moment-to-moment responsiveness, your nervous system can relax. And this may be an unfamiliar experience to you if you're used to feeling so hyperactivated all the time. But once you let yourself settle into it, you can actually start to experience a much more enduring kind of love that is the kind of love that you can build a future on. I hope you've enjoyed this 2-part series on the emotionally unavailable man, and now I'd like to hear from you. Do you recognize yourself getting caught up in relationships where you can't rely on the other person to really step in completely with you? Do you see this happening with your friends? If so, what would it be like if you made stability, dependability, and emotional availability your top priority in creating a relationship that lasts? Leave me your comments below, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.